And how to confront the challenges of the female gender in Nigeria was the focus at a national dialogue on girls themed towards a girl-friendly Nigeria. Speakers at the event challenged stakeholders to rise up and address the challenges confronting the female gender.
The challenges of the girl child in Nigeria are numerous. It ranges from discrimination, genital mutilation, child marriage, to violence and sexual abuse. In his contribution, the Vice President Yemi Oshibajo says these issues need to be addressed by the society as a unit to give the Nigerian girl hope for tomorrow. He says the federal government made a deliberate decision to ensure that the female gender is given priority in all of its social intervention programs.
We've also committed in word and deed to education so that we can ensure that no child is denied access to free basic education. We believe that free and compulsory education of girls is game-changing in many respects, and it has been empirically shown to positively impact the age of marriage and even maternal and infant mortality. In 2020, the Federal Executive Council approved a World Bank credit facility in the sum of $500 million to finance adolescent girls' initiatives for learning and empowerment. Now, this is to improve secondary education opportunities among girls in targeted areas of participating states.
Both the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Tallen, and the President of Women Arise, Dr. Okei Odunmakin, believe the girl child is the future of any society and her future and vision should not be jeopardized.
We need to address the gaps in existing legal and policy frameworks, allocate adequate resources for the protection of our girls. We need to continue engaging in multi-sectoral collaboration between ministries to ensure progressive realization and immediate protection of girls, creating a safe Nigeria for all girls where they meaningfully participate in governance. We also need to eliminate gender norms and cultural stereotypes that impede the efforts made to protect girls and to end all forms of violence against children, particularly abuse and sexual exploitation of girls.
Because the girl child remains the lubricant of survival of any entity. Imagine having about 308 million girls in Africa. And we also see that those who belong to the literate category are about 63 million. So the girl child will grow up to become a mother, to be part of the society, to become an educationist, and that's why we want the issue of girl child to be prioritized. And I still believe that a state of emergency must be declared in the affairs of girl child.
Sustained political commitment and financial investments that are key to improving the lives of girls here in Nigeria and across the continent. Mr. Vice President, your presence here this morning reassures me that we have the political commitment in Nigeria.
Speakers advocate the passing of the Child Rights Act by all the states in the country to give the girl child a voice and opportunity to maximize her potentials.
All right, well, for more on this, let's bring in Dr. Martin Ejidike, the Human Rights Advisor to the UN country team and Nigeria as well. As activist, he will be joining us in the course of the program, and President of Women Arise, West Africa, Okei Odunmakin. Joe, glad to have you join us on Arise on Newsnight.
A pleasure.
Let me start from where you commented there. Prioritize education of the girl child and then declare a state of emergency for the girl child as well. What will this translate to?
It will translate to their well-being. It will make them more confident, more secured, less depressed, because even in Nigeria we'll have like 50.5 population of girls, and we know that there's no country that can prosper if a quarter of its population is left behind. And that's why, and the well-being of girls will amount to the well-being of the country.
Actually, what I was saying is, declaring a state of emergency for
Yes,
the girls.
yes.
What do we mean in concrete terms? What would that mean in concrete terms?
In concrete terms, is prioritizing issues as it relates to the girl child. Prioritizing in terms of their security, making sure that, yes, the country needs to be secured, but all schools must be secured. We had an interface with the girls, a day before this program. And the girls, some of them told us their fears, that they have that phobia coming to school because they don't want to be kidnapped. Some of them even told us a step further that the sanitary condition of their school has become so embarrassing, and some of them prefer to use outside the the public space instead of using the toilet to avoid infection and some other things. We also find out that a lot of these girls, 1 in 7, drop out of school, and some of them drop out of school because of poverty. A lot of the parents that we have now will want to earn a living, and they will send out their wards, to go out and sell petty things. This will then expose them. So if we have like free education from the primary to secondary level, it's going to encourage girls, parents, and they will not marry off their young ones at their prime. A lot of them marry them off so that economically they can be empowered. So if a state of emergency is declared, it's going to be the highest priority, and all that concern girls will be taken as an emergency.
Okay.
We also find out that rape is very, very rampant, and trafficking.
Right. Dr. Joe, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back to talk some more on this very important conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Rise News. You're watching Newsnight. Well, we still have with us in the studio Dr. Joe Odunmakin and Dr. Martin Ejidike, the human rights advisor to the UN country team in Nigeria, also joins this conversation now. Thank you so much, Dr. Ejidike, for joining us. Let me begin with you. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Let me begin by asking you, because it seems we all know the challenges, we know the problems when it comes to the girl child, or children in general, but particularly we're focusing on the girl child. What seems to be the problem here? We do know the challenges, but years of advocacy by different groups, non-governmental groups, doesn't seem to have moved the needle much. What is the problem?
Well, I think the problem, in my view, the problem is two-phase, two major issues. First is the absence of legal framework for child protection. Although at the national level, the Child Rights Act has been approved in compliance with the Convention on the Rights of the Child, several states have not domesticated this. So without the domestication of the Child Rights Act by the states, the act is not enforceable in those states, and there is no legal mechanism for the protection of the child in those states that have not ratified the Child Rights Act. So I look at this from the perspective of the absence of a legal framework for protection and promotion of the rights of the child. And without the legal framework...
I'm interested in the phrase girl-friendly Nigeria. What are the factors that one needs to see to say, yes, this nation is girl-friendly, or vice versa, when you would say is not girl-friendly?
Well, a girl-friendly Nigeria is a Nigeria that prioritizes the needs of the girl child. Is a country that is more interested in making sure that states that the Child Rights Act had not been passed, 26 had been passed, remaining 10. And the government should also look forward in making sure that the legal policy an institutional framework works. When it works, then the girl child will be more protected. We are looking at a state that will also help. Even it might not be federal government, it might be the local government. Distribution of sanitary pads. Girls stay out of school as a result of the fact that they do not have enough sanitary pads. Distribution of such, making sure that the sanitary condition of those girls, you know, are well taken care of. In fact, there should be a monitoring team that should go around schools and monitor the hygienic conditions that those schools operate, so as to make those girls more secured. And the girls should also realize that girls and even policymakers, that silence is not golden. I mean, anyone who keeps silence is also complicit in the act. So it should, like some of the programs that we organize, helps to embolden, the girl child to speak up. It also encourages, like the one that we have today. I mean, anybody will have sent a representative, but it shows the political will on the part of the government in making sure that the life of the girl child is made much more comfortable. And you know, like you've said, people are agonized for a very long time. Now is the time for us to organize.
Dr. Ejidike, is it possible to have a girl-friendly Nigeria, and what does that mean to you? What would that look like?
It's possible to have a girl-friendly Nigeria. A girl-friendly Nigeria would be a Nigeria where it is against the law and punishable under the law to force the girl child through genital mutilation, to force to implement or to have the girl child get married at a young age. A girl child Nigeria will be a Nigeria where every state recognizes that a child is anyone under the age of 18 years. So there is no distinction in terms of whether for the purposes of marriage the child is under 18 or otherwise. That will constitute a girl-friendly Nigeria, in my view.
Joe, we've copiously talked about domesticating these child laws, child rights laws, and then the question of implementation. We have 10 states, if I'm correct, who have not done this. Our organization like yours, both you, Women Arise Africa, and then of course Dr. Martin Ejidike, the Human Rights Advisor to the UN, how are your organizations making sure that, number one, the states fall in line, domesticate these things, and secondly, the question of implementation?
Well, a lot has been done in carrying out advocacy, also making sure that the policymakers realize that there's no how, like I've said, close to half of the population can be left behind. We've gone around, to some of the states, telling them what they will benefit and telling them what the rights of a girl child is and the punitive measures. So we should not be tired. We can never be deterred. But we just want those states to know that they are doing a lot of harm to the girl child. Because even those that have passed it, implementation has been a major problem. And a lot of people are not even aware. And that is why you see, someone will beat the child to death. And the person said, I give birth to this child and I have a right, to kill the child. And we know that anyone that is below the age of 18 is still a child. But the definition given in some states that, someone can be married off if the person has reached puberty. You see some of the girl child, an 11-year-old girl, we we grow up like an 18-year-old. So it's very important that these states, because some of the states are frustrating, that process.
Okay, very quickly, I want to ask both of you this question, but let's begin in the studio here. Like I said earlier, there have been decades of mobilizing by different civil society groups, like yours. I know for many years you've been on this. Would you say that we are recording any success at all? Are there any shining lights in Nigeria that we need to be looking at and emulating, or is it getting worse?
Absolutely, we have made some progress, because with that search, it will be like the barber's chair. We'll go round and round the circle without any movement. So we have recorded some significant progress. We have more states now domesticating it. And so the step further that we need to go is getting people more enlightened, and also strengthening the legal framework and making sure that no one will be above the law. And also those guests realizing that they are important segments of the society.
All right.
I was watching Talent there talk about gender and equal opportunity bill to be passed. It's been in the Senate for 10 years. And what do you make of the Vice President's free and compulsory education of girls? They've spent quite some money.
It's encouraging. The gender and equal opportunity bill has been there, like you rightly said, and not that it's been although it has gathered dust, but we are not silent about it. We are still lobbying, getting them realize the need for this to be passed. And for those who are frustrating, when the time comes, I mean, their names they become relics of our historical past, actually. But alluding to what the Honorable
Vice President.
Yes, I thought you talked about the minister
as well. Minister.
Oh,
yes,
yes.
Yes, alluding to what the Honorable Minister said, a lot needs to be done. And if we realize that it's not only at the federal government, is from the grassroots, the local, the state, and the federal level, then much more will be done. Then the Vice President, Excellency the Vice President, talking about free education is very, very important. It's, in fact, this feeding, although is like dropping a cube of sugar in an ocean, but effort is being made. You see that with this feeding process, some people are encouraged to go to school, because hunger and starvation is also part of the things that discourage people from going to school. And so it's a good one. It's a right step in the right direction, but the thing has to be a collective effort.
And Doctor, great to have you back. We lost you for a moment there. I was asking a question to say, after years of advocacy, and of course more states, domesticating this child rights law, would you say there have been successes? Are there shining lights, or are we seeing reversal here?
There certainly has been successes, and this was actually part of the reason we had the meeting today on UN dialogue on human rights, UN dialogue with partners on human rights priorities in Nigeria. The purpose of which was to discuss with partners, take stock of UN support to government and partners in the area of human rights, develop a common understanding of the trend and how these trends have evolved, which of course includes issues around child rights and other aspects of human rights legislation that the government has adopted, and human rights treaties that the government has signed, and develop also ways of developing collaboration between the UN and partners, leveraging the different and related mandates and related mandates of the UN agencies in implementing these priorities. So certainly there's been progress, and we are working hard to develop more coherence, to get that momentum, to achieve more. and to work in a more collaborative way with government and partners, particularly in the area of human rights.
Besides Dr. Ejidike and Dr. Odunmakin, thank you both for coming on Newsnight tonight.
Pleasure always.